Hello, people. Finished the book, Same-Sex Unions in Pre-Modern Europe. I read this, I started this up here, and then I had to go back to the city for a few days, and I read it there, and then I finished it here last night. I got back here yesterday. I had to spend, I spent 4 days back in town. My son had an operation. He had his tonsils taken out, so I spent 3 days with him. And then my daughter's such a big baby that I couldn't go down there and just stay with my son, so I went and spent a day at my house, actually. This was not a bad book. This author, John Boswell, he gets very, very technical. I mean, very technical. And I have read a book by him before. I read The Kindness of Strangers, which is about medieval people just dumping their kids on the street, and what cities, how that evolved, how they took care of that problem. This was 282 pages, published in 1994, John Boswell. There is a ton of footnotes in here. Some pages, like this one right here, 4/5 of this page is a footnote. And in the beginning, like in the foreword, the introduction, Boswell tells you that if you're not a scholar, trying to use this to write papers or something, don't bother with the footnotes. So I didn't bother with the footnotes, and I didn't feel like I missed anything. He spends the entire first chapter talking about different Greek words. Because what he did to research this book is he went back and he read Latin things, and he read Greek things, and words for brother and words for brotherhood, words for love, words for in love. It's all different. There's a little different nuances to all that stuff. And unless you speak Greek, you're not going to understand these nuances. One of the faults that I find with the book is he in that first chapter, he goes over and over these Greek words and shows you what the word looks like. I don't read Greek. I don't speak Greek. So I'm not going to recognize that word when he uses it further on in the book. And he does begin to use these Greek words, and I'm just totally lost in it. One of the cool things that I read was the idea of carrying your wife over the threshold when you're married and you're taking her somewhere to consummate the marriage. That is it's a very old custom. It's a holdover from when men used to just go out and kidnap their bride. They also used to, of course we don't do it anymore, but they used to, the woman would come to the man's house and be adopted into his family. That's why women generally take on the man's name, because you're basically adopting a daughter. That's the way that it started out. Another cool thing that they did was the carriage that the woman would come in, they would burn the carriage. And that's also a holdover from the days that you just kidnapped a wife. He talks about the Satyricon, and I have read that. The Satyricon does not exist in entirety. It's just bits and pieces of the Satyricon. I only read it because it gets referenced every once in a while. I didn't know what the fuck it was. He talks about the sacred band several times. You get the idea that in this book, he's not so much talking about same-sex unions in pre-modern Europe as he is trying to, I don't want to say justify, but trying to the sacred band was 300, I want to say Thebans, but that's not correct, Greeks that were all homosexual. And they actually fought very well because they didn't want to get embarrassed next to their lover. They did not want to leave their lover in the lurch. So he talks about the sacred band quite a bit. And it's nothing about same-sex marriage, but he just wants to normalize homosexuality, I guess. I have two things to read. One of them's pretty juicy. Page 111. Oh, fuck, I didn't mark what paragraph it was. The vast majority of Christians continued throughout the Christian era to form heterosexual marriages. As an institution, Christianity remained overwhelmingly ambivalent about most forms of heterosexual marriage during the first millennium of its existence. This is hardly surprising for a religion whose founder was supposed to have had no biological father, whose parents were not married at the time of his conception, who was believed to have had no siblings, who himself never married, and whose followers, in direct opposition to those of Judaism and most pagan religions, considered celibacy the most virtuous lifestyle. Jesus had suggested that the dead, i.e., those still involved in the sublunary world, bury their own dead. Presumably, the church felt that they should also regulate and celebrate matrimony. And 138 is the juicy bit. And I had to run across this before. I had no idea what these people were talking about. But, you better have marked the right thing. Oh, it's not just 138, it's 139 also. Certainly the most controversial same-sex couple in the Christian tradition comprised Jesus and John, the beloved disciple. The relationship between them was often depicted in subsequent art and literature as intimate, if not erotic. John refers to himself 6 times as the disciple whom Christ loved, causing one to wonder whether in John's view Jesus did not love the other apostles. At the very least, he must have meant that Jesus had a special affection for him, which is corroborated by the fact that while dying on the cross, Jesus made John the guardian of his mother, a situation reminiscent of what would happen if one half of a married couple died before the other. It also suggests, by implication, that Jesus and John were brothers, since they came to share a mother in some mode beyond the brotherhood of all the apostles and Christians. There's a section in here where there's a bunch of pictures of statuary, and Jesus and John are always pictured with John with his head on Jesus' shoulder. And I had run into that before about Jesus, supposedly being the homosexual. And I don't care if he was. I'm still trying to figure out if he even existed or not. Thanks for watching. I am into another book. And it's like fucking 85 degrees up here in October. It's very unseasonably warm.